Yo, what is up everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. My name is Oliver and in this video I will be talking about my brand new camera, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 4K. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So this video will not be a vlog like the last two videos. This video will be a review video of this new camera that we got for a company, the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 4K. And also want to touch on this camera a little bit because Blackmagic just released a 6K version of this camera that shoots 6K RAW internally up to 50 or 60 frames per second, depends on where you live. So I just got a hold of that news, so that's super epic. It's basically the same camera but then with a different sensor and a 6K image. Also, I just want to let you know, yesterday I made a whole video about this camera, but I didn't really like how it was made. It was kind of boring, so I'm redoing this whole thing with much more editing, less talking and more showing. And speaking of showing and not telling, I will now show you some cool clips I shot with this camera. Not my best clips, but some cool shots that I took with this camera that will give a good representation of what you can achieve with this camera, with ProRes, with RAW, variety of different frame rates, shot with this lens, and of course just shot with this whole little setup. So let's go. I hope you like those shots that I just showed you, and I think those shots kind of show the cinematic quality that this camera has. And what I mean by the cinematic quality is not the specs, but just the feeling that the image gives you. For instance, when I show these images to someone who doesn't know anything about dynamic range or just anything about cameras and stuff like that, they can also feel that it's more cinematic than, for instance, a Sony camera. And I think that's mainly because of the high dynamic range and the raw capabilities, so you can really grade it. Of course they don't know that, but subconsciously they know that or they feel that. So that's really cool. And I also think that this camera feels more cinematic because I rigged this camera, making it more heavy, getting rid of micro jitters, making it look more professional. I'm now gonna tell you guys something about the ease of use shooting with this cinema camera. Well, it's actually a cinema camera and it sounds a little bit intimidating, but it's actually not. It's actually fairly simple to use, just like a DSLR you are used to. And I think because of the menu system of this camera, it's even simpler than something like a Sony or a Panasonic. And it's also easy for somebody who's not experienced with this type of camera or this brand to just quickly get a shot and change a couple of settings. And if you know a little bit about compression rates, then that's the most different thing about just the whole camera, basically. Alright, I want to now touch on the topic of battery life of this camera. A lot of people are talking / complaining about the battery life of this camera, and that's for good reason, because the battery life of one of these LPE6 batteries when shooting RAW and stuff like that or high frame rates is only 40 minutes, so that's not good at all. So what you could do is buy a ton of these batteries, which are around 60 euros or $60 each, which will get fairly expensive fairly quickly. So that's not really a solution for me because I'm on a budget. So I saw a video on these external batteries. This battery lets me connect a dummy battery with a DC plug into this battery and also into the camera, making the monitor run of this battery and the camera also run off this battery for around 2.5 hours. So that's great for shooting long days. I've got 2 of these and also 3 just normal LP6 batteries and also a power bank, so I can shoot the whole day without worrying about battery life. And with this new battery solution, of course the rig gets bigger, but that's not an issue in my opinion because I want a bigger rig with nice handheld stabilization because of the weight. So yeah, I want to now quickly go over the rig and tell you what gear I use. Alright, so to begin, an Atomos Shinobi monitor, very great. 4K screen, very crispy. Also short HDMI cable to keep the setup fairly clean. Ow. And here you can see an SSD going into the camera. The SSD gets all the footage recorded to it, so that's great. I can directly edit off the SSD, so that's also super awesome. Don't have to upload footage, don't have to wait for that. So then for the lens, here you can find an ND filter. This is the Sigma 18-35. Super awesome lens. I got it with the camera and it's the best lens I ever used. and I think a lot of people will agree with me. Then a Metabones Ultra Speed Booster to connect a Canon lens to the Micro Four Thirds body, gives me a stop of extra light, and this also gives me a wider focal range. And then the thing that's holding all of this together is a small rig cage. It's the cheapest I could find and in my opinion the best one. And the only thing that I don't like about this rig is this cable that's hanging loose, but I will come up with a solution for that soon. And for the rest, yeah, it's a nice heavy setup, so it will create some nice cinematic looking handhelds, and I really enjoy that look. Alright, so this is the current setup that we got. We got the Sony right here and a Blackmagic here in my hand as well. And I've got these set up besides each other with the same aperture, the same shutter speed, but different ISOs. The Sony has ISO 6400, Blackmagic has ISO 1250, which is its native dual ISO. And it kind of looks the same looking at the exposure, so I find that very weird. I'm not sure what causes that, but they look the same, and I think this is a pretty fair comparison. I don't want to make it too fair because then I'm downgrading the quality of the Blackmagic just to make it look like the Sony more, and that's not what we're here to do. We're here to show the difference between those two cameras. Let's go. Alright everybody, so I'm curious to know what you think about the comparison between this camera and this camera behind me. I think they look kind of similar. I'm not sure if I made the right choice. Actually, I'm very sure that I made the right choice because this of course shoots in RAW and has a lot more flexibility to offer in post-production and with the colors and changing up your white balance and stuff like that. And with this camera that's not possible, but still a Sony camera like this is plenty good to make good videos or to shoot nice photos. I can't even really shoot photos with this camera. And of course gear is not the key to good content. You can see on my videos I got some pretty nice gear, but still the content isn't up there. Trying to improve every day. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Click that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.